So good morning. This is January the 15th, 2015, and this is CISG113, Section 1, Information Security and Privacy. We're still in week number 2, and today is day number 4, which is January the 15th. Now, we finished our Monday class by helping you to understand a little bit of the documentary, okay, on digital nations, after we have given you a picture on what it's meant by inquiry-based learning. So today we're going to help you to review a little bit on what is meant by inquiry-based learning, and then we go back to the digital nations, and hopefully most of you have watched the documentary at home. If not, it's okay. I hope you will develop the habit to watch things before you come here. Now, let's go back to inquiry-based learning, which is what we would like to establish in the first learning period for your learn-to-learn activity, and which is also very important for preparing the first set of homework we need to submit by the end of this month, which is the due date for learning contract number 1, the set of artifacts. Okay? If you look at the submissions, then you understand that the last week of this month is the time when you have to submit your learning contract number 1's artifacts. Okay, now we'll talk about this later. Looks like that's not enough power here. Okay, let's go for IBL. Let's review, watch, and pick up the notes now.
Inquiry-based learning. Inquiry-based learning.
Oh gosh, I don't know. Is that bad that I don't know that?
Here we go. One step at a time, I'll be living on the line. I don't need a friend, I got more than on the mind. Sunshine in my brain, making everyone complain. Radio in the heart, don't be being so strange. If you're losing it, baby, where have you been? Everybody says that you're moving again. I don't want to be right.
Inquiry means to ask within. So what you're trying to do as a teacher is you've got to ask them to look inside themselves for the question, the desire to know something. You start with the desire to know.
Inquiry-based learning is about training students to act just like scholars. We, scholars, frame questions and we answer them. That's just what we're training students to do when they're in an inquiry-based learning environment. In an inquiry-based learning environment, they're acting just like scholars.
It wasn't simply a lecture. They were having to be active in coming up with their own ideas and interpretations. Even if they were wrong, you know, they had to be active in thinking about it rather than just be passive receptors of information.
There's a common misperception about inquiry-based learning, that it's somehow inquiry-based learning doesn't involve lecturing. It does. In an inquiry-based learning environment, professors provide content. What's different is that students do something with the content that is very immediate to them. They'll go and apply those concepts and that content to questions that they've designed.
And that's the goal, to liberate the student into being the primary question asker and learner. The idea is to turn students into question askers again.
A lot of times we undermine what children know or what students like us know by not asking them questions, by not asking them to go out in the community, do research. We almost cripple them.
It's more engaging than regular textbook learning. When you actually care about what you're learning, then you remember it in the long term.
Instead, inquiry-based learning enables students to be part of knowledge.
If they don't get a chance to practice asking questions, then how are they ever gonna get free? They're gonna think they need a classroom or a teacher or a structure their whole lives.
It's important that they understand the knowledge that's in that textbook, but I think it's also important that Appalachian students have an understanding as to how does new knowledge and how are new discoveries made? How did that knowledge get into the textbook to begin with? Maybe even it spurs them on to think about, you know what, maybe I can discover something, or maybe I can do a study or create this piece of work that nobody else has done yet.
Don't ask a question you know the answer to. Ask genuine questions and try to pursue an investigation within the students.
If you want to get teachers to want to do this, they themselves have to be willing to do inquiry. They have to be the inquiry experts. They have to just wonder about everything.
It's not safe for a teacher just to get up in front like an expert, spout a lot of facts, and impress people with how smart they are. It's much harder to reveal your own ignorance in front of a group of people when you're supposed to be the expert.
Then I have to model ignorance and confusion. I can't just model knowing. I have to model exploring.
Imagine accurately what students are interested in so you can make suggestions, so you can kind of get them to think in a curious way. And yet still fulfill the requirements of the class.
It's just much more straightforward for all of us if I just tell you. And if that's all I do, it's deadly.
I may do quite a bit of talking in any one class. In another class, they may be working on their own in small groups.
You got to have the common universe that everybody's working on, so everybody's taking the same class. But then students have to somehow individualize it or instantiate it in reasonably unique ways.
You definitely leave frustrated because the more you know, the more confused you are.
Except that I'm learning in a different way now.
Students also resist. A lot of students do want to be told. They like to come in and say they're visual learners. I now know what this means. It means put a PowerPoint on the slide and let me copy stuff down.
Students usually come into my class at first, on the first day, thinking that knowledge is all about me, the professor, pouring some knowledge into their heads, and later they, the students, will take an exam and prove to me that they've memorized it.
It's really easy for me to hear something, see an example, and retain that, and then be tested over it.
Just set traps for students and then kind of trap students so they'll get wary. You're always looking for the teacher trap. The people won't engage.
In an inquiry-based learning environment, the setup is completely different. It's about the students acting like scholars. It's about students creating knowledge. It's about empowering students so that they believe, no, not that they believe, that they understand that they can do what scholars do. They don't just have to absorb the opinions of other people.
It's just a lot more open-ended. It's just more fun in general, actually.
I really liked the fact that it was more of a conversation instead of being talked at.
It's frustrating at times when you have other teachers that are still trying to do the, old school sense of education, where they're trying to just be like, A, B, and C are on the test, and this is what you need to know, and then you understand the subject. And I've found myself more questioning.
There'll be benefits. If you do it, at the end of the semester, you'll discover you have capacity that you didn't know you had.
I would definitely say I've learned more in this class with inquiry-based learning because I'm forced to hold my knowledge as my own and use it every day as opposed to just the hour that I'm in my class. And I take it everywhere with me.
You need a well-rounded education to be, to integrate into society, but at the same time, you can't just memorize what the teacher tells you and be done with it, because then you'll never integrate into society.
All of our knowledge is grounded in a deep desire to be in community with other people. that, why do we develop knowledge anyway? I mean, like, I'm just talking about like over 10,000 years or something. Like, why does anybody care about anything? We care about it because we want to be in the world successfully with the people we love.
It applies to so much of my life. It's not just about academia, it's life.
So you watch this particular video. It's a very mini case study from the Appalachian State University in the United States. Okay, so the purpose is we need to help you to understand what's best for you in the context of learning. We do not want you to spend 4 years at the university and do not know anything about what is meant by learning. So for me, I have been practicing this method in this course for more than 4 years, and students had to be taught to understand the meaning, and then they need to experience to discover the best of this method. Well, the most important thing is once you got turned on, you understand you never want to get back to the old school of traditional transmissive method of learning that is not effective enough. Now, what I would like you to do now, if you remember correctly, after reading my teacher's message released on Monday, you need to tell me who your learning partner is by the end of today, okay? So the way to tell me is very simple. You come to the Dr. Vet's Q&A hotline, you create a thread, which is called My Learning Partner, and the way to do it is very simple. If you come to teacher's message of this second week, okay, at the end of this teacher's message, you see that I have given you a very simple box, okay, like this. You just need to copy and paste this box, okay? Do a copy like this, and you go back to this week's Dr. Vet's Q&A hotline here, okay? And then what you need to do is to create a discussion thread on your own, and you can say this. All right, my learning partner. And after that, you paste your box here, okay? After you paste the box here, you double click here, you expand your editor, and then you can type in your student ID, your name, which year you belong, the major, your email address, your contact phone number, and your partner's name, ID, your partner's name, sub-name, and then the year, the major, the email address, and the contact number. Okay? Each one of you need to do the same. You do not just count on your partner to tell me which particular pair you belong. You need to do it the same for both you in this particular context and your partners. And please do that before the end of today, okay? I'm going to install you a peer discussion forum immediately from tomorrow, okay? So that you can start using the peer discussion forum to discuss with your learning partner, okay? So suppose this is the end of it. So I just double click it again and I do save, all right? I save it. And when I say save something, okay, then I will have a record that it's visible to me and to yourself, all right? So I have all the participants here. I just need to go to your record and I can see if you have already done this, okay? This is the name, and if I go on to someone who have not done this, I do not see anything, but you can see that mine is on every page because I've given you an example. So make sure you do not forget to do that before the end of today, to name your learning partner, and you need to negotiate with your learning partner. I give you some time today during the class. Okay, I've given you important information about informing me of your learning partner. Because this is very important in the context of completing learning contract number 1 for doing the peer-based discussions. Now, would you please learn to practice your inquiry-based learning stuff, asking questions in the context of the following video. I'm going to give you a little bit more on information security in the context of getting yourself aware of how you can protect yourself by being a little bit more sensitive to this very common technique of deceptions. So let's go for it.
Engineers, whether they design bridges or spaceships or computer software, will tell you that the best way to do anything is usually the simplest way. Computer hackers who want to steal secret information have something in common with engineers. Though they are often highly skilled at finding technical weak points in computer security, they know that security depends as much on people as on technology. And the simplest way to get what they want is to take advantage of human security weaknesses. To do this, they use a set of tricks known as social engineering. What is social engineering? Well, it sounds like something out of a new sci-fi or spy movie, doesn't it? Well, that might be closer to the truth than you think. In fact, social engineering involves manipulating behavior through psychology. It could be as simple as conning someone into loading spyware onto their computer, or befriending them so they reveal secret information. In social engineering, the hacker is taking the path of least resistance. Why go to all the trouble of trying to break encrypted code to get the information they want, when you could just as easily call someone up and ask for it? In the following presentation, we'll go over all of the ways someone may use social engineering to get what they want, and the strategies to help you recognize it and protect yourself.
All right, this is just a minute, less than 1 minute and 30 seconds introductions on a very interesting skill. They use an engineering term called social engineering. All right, let's see what we got from here. Another 1 minute and 25 seconds.
Today, with a blessing of his client's boardroom, Brian gets ready to become Will the Hacker.
Hi, Jim. This is Will Rogers over in IT. How are you? Doing good, doing good. You got a couple minutes, or did I interrupt? Is this a bad time? Okay, great.
Brian's mission is to get unsuspecting employees to reveal their passwords.
Boys, we're doing a quick survey.
He tells them he's from their own IT department. He's pretending he's checking that their passwords are suitable for changes planned for their network.
For each of those, you've got to remember a separate username.
None of it's true.
It's really designed to make your life a little bit easier. So,
Surprisingly, the technique frequently bears fruit.
the way we're going to implement this system, it might restrict the type of characters, whether it's letters or numbers that you can use. So for example, what exactly is the password that you're using? And I'll see if it will actually work with the system when implemented. Okay.
Brian has successfully convinced numerous employees to hand over their passwords. He can now use them to unlock the company's secrets.
Okay, now we are not going to watch this for the next episode, although it's going to be very exciting. This is a new feature offered by YouTube, but let's go it from here, okay? Good. So I want you to pause for a minute and ask yourself the questions. Based on the first video, the lady has introduced to you the very interesting term, social engineering, And in the second short video, the video have introduced to you some demonstrations of the technique by a typical hacker to obtain secret information from unsuspected employees in a particular company. And actually, what did he do in order to obtain those informations? Do you read some of the tricks done by the persons practicing social engineering? Let me give you an example which happened in Macau. I remember in 2012, on January the 4th, 2012, the headlines of the Macau daily newspaper reviewed a story. Now you can definitely go to the library and look up the newspaper. In the past, the Macau daily news provided the electronic record, but now they just take off part of these. So if you really want to read the story, go to the library and look at the paper copy. Do you remember the story reviewed by Macau daily newspaper? But for those of you who are not in Macau, you may not know. It was discovered because the persons who had been victimized reported to the judiciary police that she is a civil servant, relatively high rank in the Macau government, and she became a victim of what we call a social engineering trap. Okay? And what it meant by that, she trusted a person she came to know over the social network. Okay? And the persons became a very good friend of her, in the sense that she's willing to help the persons to come over his or her, better say his, financial crisis. And what she did is to deposit according to the instructions of that person she has never met, but came to know through the social networking site.
Hello, hello.
Okay.
We settle down out there, hello.
Okay. Let me just make sure that I close that first.
Welcome to social engineering, which, thank you. Which,
okay, we'll talk about it later. And then the lady deposit into the account, a bank account of that person, 3 times over 3 different transactions, a total amount of Macau productors, $850,000. Okay, altogether. And based on the descriptions of that lady civil servant, she was supposed to get the money back in about 1 month. 1 month is a relatively long period of time. And she discovered that she was trapped and she was deceived, because at the end of the first month, the second month, she no longer heard from that person anymore on the social networking site. And she suspected she had been tricked. And so she go to the police, the judicial police, and report. And then based on the investigations and based on the disclosures of the story, the people, the police described this as an act of computer crime based on the technique of earning one's trust by building up a relatively long-term and reliable relationship with the persons who is victimized. And the question is, how come we become so easily trust someone over the internet and become so willing to deposit so much money into the different accounts produced by the persons on the other side of the wire, who the fact of the matter is you never met these persons. And when we look back on the study on social engineering keens on fishing information bit by bit from people by earning the trust. But when we look back to the story reported by the Macau Daily News back in 2012, we discovered it's more than that. But it's also very important that we use the social engineering as an important beginning step for us to understand the the weaknesses of human. Because when you listen to the lady in the first video to talk about social engineering, they talk about it's probably the easiest part to earn some information from someone without lots of suspicions. And that is the beginning of our story today. Let me see if I can get this through. This is a little bit long. Let me see if I can put this up. That it's a very interesting video called The Art of Deceptions, presented by someone called Kelvin Burnett. Now I'm going to show you his picture, but not now, but in week number 7. And you can also take a peek on who this person is. I can tell you that. He's also named as the father of social engineering because he was once a criminal, but before he became a criminal, definitely he was a hacker. He was a hacker who did something which is very interesting because he was a teenager. He loves to discover something and do something that is called a free long-distance call, okay? Normally, when we have to call long distance, we need to deposit money and we need to have an account, something like this. But he's very famous in doing something now. He's able to use some basic phone call called phishing technique to call some basic people to get some information, and then he could get through the system security. And they're very famous in the United States called AT&T, and got a lot of long distance call free of charge. And then he discovered his competence to do something more. And based on that technique, he was able to hack into different company and transfer money from different accounts and become an expert. But eventually, in 1995, I guess, he was caught red-handed by the FBI in the United States. And so he was jailed for about 6 years. And then the day when he was released, 60 Minutes from the United States CBS News did an interview with him, do a very interesting recount this person, and then he, after he was released from the jail, he became a consultant. Consultant not just to ordinary company, he was also a consultant to the government. They helped the government to fend off similar techniques that he's so famous for. So that is a very interesting person. Now, okay, let me just do it this way. Before I show you the next video, may I invite you, those of you who have learning partners already, you can group together, okay, get ready for the discussion. But those of you who have not named your learning partner, would you please turn to the persons next to you?
Now, I believe we have some former prisoners right here in the studio or wherever.
Okay, so would you please get ready as a pair-by-pair persons first before we come to the next episodes of our class, because I want you to do some discussions. Could you just turn to one person to make sure you have one pair? Okay. The two of you, maybe Nancy, you can join them. Because I count we have an odd number of students here. The two of you here, the two of you there, two of you there, and the two of you there. Then you can move back or you can move forward and we can talk about that, okay? Because I need the two of you to do some information capture and then we'll do discussions in a minute. Don't worry about ding dong. I'm not saying ding dong at this one, okay? Right here. You have 3 minutes and 11 seconds video to watch, okay? In a minute, I'm going to copy this video to the website. And in this particular video, as you can read from the title, It's something about stealing someone's identity through getting access to a password. Now, which is very consistent with the second video you just watched to illustrate the technique of social engineering. But I want you to watch this and then see what you can discover from this based on, to see if you have any similar personal experience. Are you ready? You need a piece of paper maybe to join down something, and then after watching the 3-minute and 11-second video, I'm going to give you 5 minutes time to organize yourself and to discuss with your learning partner, the person next to you, what is the message there, okay? Let's go for it.
Privacy? What does it mean? Being alone? Keeping secrets? Having control? Most people would say that privacy is personal information. You know, the good stuff. And most people would agree that personal information is a big part of our identities. In the real world, this isn't a big deal, since we more or less can control what we say and to whom. But in the digital world, it's much harder to know if personal information is safe or not. For example, what would happen if someone logged onto your Facebook account and changed your status from married to single? Sure, worse things could happen, but that's not the issue here. What I want to know is, do you use the same password for Facebook as you do for your mail account? The same inbox where you keep details to your bank accounts, business applications like Salesforce, company secrets, you name it. Now, it may sound surprising, but 8 out of 10 people use the same password for most, if not all, online activities. Almost like having one key for all doors, which is practical until someone else gets hold of the key. And don't get me wrong, I like having just one password. It's simple, because who can remember 10 different hard-to-crack combinations? But what if someone actually did want to get access to your mail account? Here's an example of how that is done. First of all, finding your actual mail address isn't exactly rocket science. Then it takes about 5 minutes of online search to find out about your hobbies. For instance, where you work out. After that, a simple phone call is all it takes to get hold of your password. The caller pretends to be you and says he's forgotten his password to the gym's online booking system. A service-minded receptionist who wants to help gives out your password to the caller. If it's the same password you normally use online, it means that the caller now has access to most of your online accounts. Now, believe it or not, but that's how most passwords are revealed, through a simple phone call. A good example to prevent this from happening is to use something called one-time passwords. Let's say you want to log on to your mail account. As always, you type in your username and password, but instead of logging on, you'll be prompted to enter a one-time password, a password that will be delivered by text message to your phone. Type it in, and that's it. With this solution, you can continue to use the same password you like so much. You just combine it with a one-time password solution. You can also use a mobile app password generator or hardware token. With solutions like these, you can rest assured knowing that all your online information and everything that comes with it is safe. So what does privacy mean? Well, it doesn't really matter, as long as it's yours. Check out Nordic Edge One-Time Password Server.
We're going to stop here because otherwise we're going to continue watching a lot of video. Now, get hold of this video, okay, with your discussion partner at this one, and see what can you get out of this very simple
Social engineering is any method of theft that manipulates
11 seconds video before we come to this next episodes, okay? Talk about this, whatever you can capture from the previous video, talk about this and share a little bit of your experience with your partner next to you, and try to see if you can come up with, say, the two of you at the end of your discussions, 5 minutes, come up with a storytelling of your own, okay? Based on the themes given here. So you need to do something now. First, recall what you have watched recall some facts, some interesting issues from the video, share to your partner, one after the other. Definitely you cannot talk together, listen, and then talk, and then try to come to put things together, okay, based on the video or videos you have seen from this morning's class. You have not more than 5 minutes time to do this organizations. All right, now if you need a piece of paper, I could give you some. Remember, you can always use the Moodle environment to type in some of your work there with a discussions forum, with a public discussion forum, okay? The best way is to get used to using the Moodle environment. You got it, okay? And we can save a lot of trees. What have you captured from the video, okay? It definitely has a lot to do with privacy. It also has a very interesting thing called information security that each one of us can do to protect our privacy. All right?
This is Audible. Audible Inc. presents Social Engineering, the Art of Human Hacking. Written by Christopher Hadnagy. Narrated by A.T. Chandler.
Social engineering is any method.
Remember, you're free to talk with your discussion partner. You do not need to be quiet because it's a discussion time. and I welcome your discussions. Make it noisy, it's okay. It's your classroom. You have less than 3 minutes now before I try to pass the microphone to you to see if you're willing to share a little bit of your ideas with the whole class. All right, let's try to get to some voting pairs. All right, so maybe we start with the boys this time. If you have something you want to tell us very briefly, you can just go ahead and use the microphone. And I would very much appreciate you can turn your head and look at the camera. Hi, Billy. Hey, Wyson, do you have anything to share after watching the videos?
After the video, we got the message is you use the password. No, it's no use the password in every email account.
Okay.
Yeah, and in my opinion, my situation is the same. My email account is use all the same password, but
Okay.
the email address is different.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so that means if someone could get access to your email password, you can actually try getting access to different accounts if they know what account you have. So it's going to be dangerous. Okay.
But I think it doesn't matter. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So I hope so. Until one day you discover that your girlfriend's message is read by someone. Okay. Can you pass the microphone to any other pair, or you want to pass to Wyson and let Wyson say something first? Okay. Let's go for this pair first. Hello. Could you introduce yourself?
My name is Timmy.
Talk to the microphone. Yes.
Timmy.
Timmy. Yes. What do you think?
I got a message for this video is don't use same password for every account.
Don't use the same password for many accounts, okay?
Yes.
Okay, so that's good. And how do you relate this to social engineering? It's okay, it's okay. You can pass the microphone and ask for help. You want to pass it to Angel? Hi, Angel. What do you think?
I think of the same situation, same password,
Okay.
using the same account, like
Okay.
the email, Facebook, Twitter, and others.
All right.
Yes.
So keep it secret.
Yes, but I think I've told someone already.
Okay. Then you better change them.
Yes,
Yes.
maybe.
Okay.
I think we should not tell our password to anyone very easily. Even if our parents, even if our parents, we can't tell them because we have our own privacy.
Yes.
Yes, so I think we need to keep it secret.
Okay, thank you, Angel. Do you have any thing to say? Your partner? No? Okay, you can pass it to any pair you choose. Yes, hello. Could we know your name?
My name is Sophie.
Sophie, hello. What do you think?
I know that people can know your password by only searching your information online and making some phone calls.
Okay.
So it's so easy for them to know your password.
Okay.
So we better use some difficult password for every account.
Okay. That is a very secure method. So anything more you want to add? Okay, can you pass the microphone to the next pair? Hello. Could you introduce yourself?
When we pay money in the web shop, then we need the account, then the account will be the target of hackers.
Okay, that's very true. So what can we do to protect ourselves? What do you think?
Maybe as the video set what something.
Okay, so could you introduce your name to the whole class? Your name?
Name is Edward.
Edward, thank you, Edward. Do you have anything to say for your partner? Your partner, do you want to say something? Hello?
Hello, my name is Howard, and password is to make more convenient to people.
Okay.
And say many times or only to their daily or their property.
Okay, thank you. We could understand more about your concern. Could you pass it to the lady in front? Thank you. Hello.
Hello everyone, my name is Anna.
Hello.
And from video we can see three things. The first one is the definition of privacy is our personal information. And the second one, the author introduced the phenomenon that we always use the same password for different things, and it's just like we use one key for all doors. Maybe it's very dangerous, but I think for me it's safe that I never make friends with the stranger in the internet. And at the end of video, it introduced his own product, just like the one-time password. It's an advertisement, but I think it's dangerous too when you use the one-time password, because as we can see, we always use this one password through our mobile phone. But when your mobile phone is powered off, or it's not, there is not enough money in it, and you can't get the password on time, and maybe it's a problem for you to use the one-time password for every time.
Okay. Do you think Sammy is going to have something to say, or Lindsay is going to have something to say?
Well, I think that the man here that Anna has already introduced to us, and by the way, I think the problem of using the same password of all one's account is different from that the case Dr. Red mentioned just now that a girl was deceived a large amount of money.
Yes.
The former case is about that the criminal that he earned the trust of the girl.
Right.
But when in this case, when one used the same password for all his accounts, the bad guy doesn't need to earn or become a friend of you. They just Google your address, Google your mobile phone number, and then call you, and they assess you in a very in a way that you didn't recognize that he's actually stealing your password.
Okay.
And it's a much easier way than making friends with you.
Yes.
So and it's maybe much more easier for
Okay.
us to be identity.
Yes, I think you have had a very interesting perspective because I'm trying to see if you can make some connections, and Sammy is trying to make some connections between the two pieces. That's very good. Yes.
Okay.
What about Lindsay? Do you have anything to say?
I think social engineering is someone use psychology knowledge to let us trust him or her.
Right.
And if from the video we can see many people can want to use the same keyword because it's easy to remember.
Right.
Often email, Facebook, and even banking account.
Okay.
So if somebody bad use social engineering to know one of the keywords, then he can easily got all of our information.
Exactly.
And because if my friends had some information, if I know some personal information of my friends,
right,
they can through me to know what
right,
all my friends'
yes,
personal information. So
yes,
it will bring a series of dangerous results of
right,
consequences.
That is very good. I think you're putting the dots together. Thank you very much, Lindsay. Now, in order to help you to understand a little bit better as a review, I would like to play you the 1 minute of videos on social engineering as a review or conclusions of our discussions up to this point, and that is this particular video.
Of theft that manipulates your human nature in order to gain access to your online financial accounts. Criminals are looking to exploit your trust, your willingness to listen to an authority figure, and even your generosity and charitable nature. The best way to avoid social engineering schemes is to be cautious and suspicious of any request for money, passwords, account numbers, or other confidential information, no matter where it seems to be coming from. One common method of social engineering uses the people you trust the most as a way to gain your confidence. Thieves can hack an email or social network account and then pose as a friend or family member in order to gain your trust. Don't respond to any email or social network post or message that ask for money or confidential information. Several very large thefts have been carried out by thieves who pretend to be a family member or friend, asking for money to be wired for an emergency. Don't assume that an unsolicited phone call or email is actually from a trusted source. If someone on the phone or a message in your inbox is telling you there is a problem with your online banking account, online auction, or credit card account, don't give them additional information to fix the problem. Check those accounts directly by logging in normally or calling a published customer service number. Be conscious of what can be learned about you. Don't use information that can be found online as secret answers to security questions. Thieves can even research your purchases or donations, then pose as a business or charity you trust. Always remember, just because someone may have bits of information about you or represent themselves as someone you know or an organization you trust, always verify.
It's a very important message. Always verify. Okay.
Social engineering is any...
Okay, I'm going to send you this video through the social discussion forum of the whole class, okay? So now, since it's 11:02, I need to come back to the theme that we talk about this week, which is about information technologies and knowledge society. Now I invite you to watch at home these documentary which lasts for 90 minutes for the digital nations, okay? And last time we invite you to watch in class the first chapter, which has the theme called Distracted by Everything. Well, I would like to continue to invite you to watch the second chapter today, and let's see if I can do it now. Okay, I think we can. Yes, it's about 10 minutes. Yes, right here. I think it's good enough. Hopefully, we could skip some media here, except for yeah.
The thing we discover here is new, because we know zero. Now, in this lab,
Sometimes when I expand the screen, I may not be able to do that easily. So let's try to do it here.
It even changes how teachers teach, because now the pressure is on teaching kind of scintillate.
anything we discover here is new, because we know zero. Now, in this lab here, we're researching speaking on the cell phone while driving.
Tell me about a time when you had to deal with a difficult person.
You walk around the world and you see people multitasking. They're playing games and they're reading email and they're on Facebook, etc. Yet classic psychology says that's impossible. No one can do that. In general, our brains can't do two things at once. And we want to ask the question, how do they do it? Do they have some secret ingredient, some special ability that psychologists had no idea about? Or what's going on? You guys were chosen because you're very high chronic multitaskers. And that
NAS allowed us to film one of his studies, conducted on a group of carefully chosen students.
Sometimes the bandwidth needs to be adjusted higher to something.
On a college campus, most kids are doing 2 things at once, maybe 3 things at once. These are kids who are doing 5, 6, or more things at once, all the time.
The experiment looks simple. Identify numbers as odd or even, letters as vowels or consonants. But it's rife with traps in the form of distractions. NAS is testing how quickly these kids can switch between tasks without losing their focus.
I'm pretty much constantly texting, and whenever I study, I have my laptop out.
Brian is a junior.
I'm watching a YouTube video, I'm checking my email, nonstop refreshing the page, and on Facebook chat.
He's pretty confident that his multitasking is successful.
So that I can always stay connected.
So you think you're effective?
I think so. Okay.
But his results, like others NAS has tested, suggested otherwise.
What we found was that you're actually significantly slower when you're switching than when you're doing kind of the same task consistently.
Virtually all multitaskers think they are brilliant at multitasking. And one of the big discoveries is, you know what, you're really lousy at it. It turns out multitaskers are terrible at every aspect of multitasking. They get distracted constantly. Their memory is very disorganized. Recent work we've done suggests they're worse at analytic reasoning. We worry that it may be creating people who are unable to think well and clearly.
When I got back to New York, I noticed how much I too fell prey to distractions. I kept catching myself in the act, checking my email when I should have been writing a script, Googling something to satisfy a random curiosity. This is affecting all of us. The Shakespeare quote is, "We are consumed by that which we are nourished by." Speaking for myself, if all I do is my email and my calendar and my searches and I feel great. I feel like a master of the universe, getting my calendar and my meetings and I just feel great. And then it's the end of the day, I've been busy all day, and I haven't thought about anything hard. I mean, the point of it is to be our most creative selves, not to distract ourselves to death.
Distraction. Combating distraction isn't as easy as turning off your email program.
You turn off your email program, it's not the software that's going to complain, it's the people on the other side, your friends, your boss, your bills. You know, where's my report? Why haven't you answered your email? Are you mad at me? We can't do this in isolation. If you're going to deal with the problem of distraction, it's something we're going to have to deal with together.
I feel like something's out of whack.
Maybe it's time to press the pause button.
Well, it's not just you, it's everybody.
We need to know if we're tinkering with something more essential than we realize.
Changing what it means to be a human being by using all this stuff.
I mean, look at these kids. According to the latest data, most of them are spending more than 50 hours a week with digital media. That's more than a full work week. What is this doing to their brains?
You have young people whose brains are not fully developed. So how a young person chooses to spend their time will have a profound effect on what their brain will be like for the rest of their lives.
So far, there's only one neuroscientist who's actually examined the impact of the internet on our brains, Dr. Gary Small at UCLA. He took MRI scans of people's brain activity reading a book, and then another doing an internet search.
This summarizes what we found in that Brain on Google study. So here's your brain reading a book. Here's your brain on Google. More than twofold increase in the extent of activity. Notice how much activity there is in the front part of the brain, the decision-making part of the brain, which makes sense because we know we're making lots of decisions when we're searching online. So
you'd think more brain activity, all that red, means Google is making us smarter. And in fact, that's what most of the headlines said when Small's research was first released. But I knew it couldn't be that simple.
Where's the other picture? The reading one. I feel like this does not do reading justice.
Well, you know, on a brain scan, big is not necessarily better. You know, if you go to the gym and you start lifting weights, at first you're going to have to use a lot of energy, but if you train, you're going to become much better. You're going to be in better shape, you're going to lift more weight, and it's not going to take that much energy. So one could argue small is better. It's a little bit like playing golf. You want your score to go down.
So wait a second. All that media hype and the doctor himself isn't so sure about their conclusions? Small's study wasn't a confirmation of the internet's beneficial effects. If anything, it was a call for some real research now. So why isn't anyone looking at the real effects of near constant net use?
By the time you design a research study, apply for funding, implement the study, and you publish the results about the technology, what has happened? The technology is obsolete. We move beyond it. And so the technology and the practices that go with the new technologies, they keep outdistancing the research. The research can't catch up with it.
We're immersed in it, and it's changing so rapidly, we're just beginning to grasp what's happening. So think of how long it took us to understand that smoking was bad for our health. I think it takes people a while for reality to hit them in the face. It's hard to get people to stop texting while they're driving, although it's a 23 times greater risk of having an accident. How do you get people to stop these behaviors? It's very difficult.
Since when has spending time online become a risky behavior, like drinking or gambling? Is it that addictive?
I think it's addictive. There's controversy among experts whether it is or not. In Asia, there's a recognition that many teenagers, are addicted to video games. I think that we're behind the Asians in terms of focusing on the problem.
It's hard to follow the story of Asia's digital revolution without somehow ending up in South Korea. South Korea's digital culture isn't characterized by the home computer so much as its legendary internet cafes, known as PC bombs, which dot the streets of every major city here. There are thousands of them in Seoul alone, offering cheap, 24/7, high-speed internet access to the tens of thousands of kids who want to play video games all day, or even all night. Do you ever stay overnight, all night? How come? It's here in the PC bonds, people say, that the Korean gaming craze has gotten out of hand. And it was sobering to see row after row of kids glued to these screens, expressionless. As it turns out, a few people have actually died in PC bonds after gaming marathons where they played 50 hours or more with little food or water.
We read the newspaper about Korea. They say gaming is a problem now, that people are addicted to the games, addicted to the internet, and they're not getting their studies done.
I think I need to stop you from here because time is running out. It's going to be exciting to continue to watch the phenomenon in Asia. And I just want to point out the theme here is when you look at the second chapter, together with the first chapter is to the theme distracted by everything. And the second chapter is what it's going to do to your brains. In the internet era, we are talking about, in this context of this week, it's introductions to information technology and knowledge society. And we know knowledge is the theme that means manual work today is not as popular as the brain work. You do not see a lot of garment factories in Macau now compared to about 20 years ago. And that's because the cost is rising, and Macau is transitioning to a different kind of area with the service industry, which needs a lot of the knowledge there. And we also introduce a lot of the information technology stuff. And one of the evidences every day when we come to classroom, when I invite you to turn on your mobile phone, you do have a mobile phone. You will not say, I don't have a mobile phone. And everyone is going to have a mobile phone with him or her, and then sometime a notebook, and when you go home it's a PC. You do things in a way that it's very much likely to be multitasking than not. And in the second chapter, what they are trying to tell you is, if you believe that you can handle multiple jobs at the same time, or tasks at the same time, and believe you can really do a good job, the fact of the matter, based on the study at Stanford University, is no, we are actually all lousy doing that. The illusions that we can do it does not mean we can actually do a good job there. And they try to produce different evidence to show you that you need to look into yourself and ask yourself this question: what can you do better? All right? And then we'll move on to the chapter 3 about kids or teenagers or college students like you and, okay, I cannot say like me because I'm older than that. We, in this era, when the computer games is so much attractive in context of manipulating with our brain and our fingers, that is going to be very interesting. In the context of growth, what is going to help? Does it help our kids to grow up better, or does it lead to a lot of potential disasters? Now, when you finish reading or watching the 10 minutes here, I'm sure you got another inspirations about what's going to happen. Well, it also happens at home every day. It depends on how much wisdom you have to adjust. Like me, I'm a father of 3 kids. I'm a teacher. I'm the husband of my wife. We always have different feedback or opinions on how we're going to allow our kids to use computer. And this is a very interesting piece on what are the potential dangers you need to be aware of in the contemporary world of information technology. Okay? So may I invite you to go home and finish reading or watching at least chapter 3, and if you could, just 90 minutes, the whole documentary. Now don't watch them without a heart. Watch them chapter by chapter, and at the end of each chapter, put some thinking into what you watch, and write down some of your feedback, or in the context of questions, perhaps in your personal hotline to me, or in a public discussion forum, okay? So that the whole class will be aware of your concerns, and we can jump into your discussions. You can name the topic you watch. For example, chapter 3, South Korea's gaming crazy. And then this is my questions in my perspective. It will be very meaningful when we do something like this in this class. Now, before I let you go for today, allow me to take attendance for today's class. Okay, we are 2 minutes beyond 11:15. It's okay, I think. Well, Angela is here. Johnson, are you here? Johnson, are you here? Wang Johnson, not here. Okay. Horace, you're Johnson, right? Okay, that's good. Horace is not here. You're Horace. Okay, sorry. Thank you. I'm sorry. I just got it wrong. Andy, are you here? Thank you. And then Anna is here. Thank you. Annie, thank you. And then Billy, yes. Giles, thank you. Timmy, thank you. Wysant, yes. Sammy, yes. Lindsay, yes. And then Sophie, thank you. Yuman, thank you. That's very good. Except for one, Jancy is not here. So now, may I remind you one more time, next week I'm going to elaborate more on the specific learning artifacts you're going to produce at the end of the first learning contract, because that is the third week into the semester, and your artifact is due in the last week, the fourth week, okay? So I hope you got yourself prepared, and do not forget to read some of this, okay? I have given you some teachers' advice on what you're supposed to do at the end of each week or class or something, just to get you prepared for your next class. All right, so that's it for today. I thank you very much for your participations. You can expect more in-class participations. One more thing before I let you go, I'm sorry. As a teacher, I always forget something important. I've just sent out in this public online discussion forum something called Call for Students Participations. Okay, you are free and you're advised, you're encouraged all together to sign up here. If you want me to give you 2 to 5 minutes time in the next class to share what you have picked up. For example, after watching the video, you have something you want to share, and each one of your sharing in class is counted as an important record that you can use to earn your in-class participation score towards the end of the semester. It's 20% out of the final 100%, so you need 10 such records throughout the semester to earn that 20%, and it's not going to be difficult. If you just do what I invite you to do, and you come up here, pick the microphone and share with the whole class, okay? Between 2 to 5 minutes per person. Okay, just respond to this call by pressing reply and tell me which day next week you want to do the sharing, all right? So at most I could entertain 6 students per class with 2 to 5 minutes each. All right, thank you very much. I see you next Monday, all right? Thank you. So that's it for today's CISG 113, Section 1, Information Security and Privacy. Until next Monday, stay tuned, all right? And of course, if you have a question, you can stay behind and I can help answer your question.